Cold. Silent. Endless. Drayton spun through the void, the escape pod shrinking behind him. His suit's oxygen alarms blared, red lights flashing inside his helmet. His grip tightened around the emergency tether, his only lifeline. The cord stretched between him and the pod, thin as a thread against the black infinity of space. Panic clawed at his mind. His muscles ached as he struggled to reel himself in. If the tether snapped, if he lost his grip, if... Commander. The voice slithered through his helmet's comms. Drayton froze. Did you really think you could run from me? The pod's lights flickered in the distance. He saw Jenkins still inside, frantically working the controls, probably screaming, but his voice was lost in the static. Drayton gritted his teeth and pulled himself forward. Inch by inch. The voice laughed. It's funny, you know. His helmet's visor flickered. A reflection appeared on the glass. But it wasn't his own. It was him. The warped, grinning version of himself he'd seen back on the Zephyr. I was never in the ship, Commander. Asterisk. The reflection's grin widened. I was always in you. Asterisk. Drayton's breath hitched. His grip on the tether slipped. For a terrifying moment, he floated, weightless, spinning further from the pod. Poor Jenkins. The voice hummed. He thinks he's safe in there. But I don't need him. I have you. Asterisk. Drayton's vision blurred. His oxygen was running low. His mind swam in dizzy, suffocating horror. Was it true? Had the entity been inside him this whole time? Had he brought it with him? He clenched his jaw. You're lying. Am I? The pod lights flickered again. The tether jerked. Jenkins' voice finally broke through the static. Drayton. Grab the line. Drayton snapped back to focus. His arms ached, his chest heaved, but he forced his body to move. One pull. Then another. Then... His fingers clamped around the pod's edge. Jenkins reached out, yanking him inside, slamming the hatch shut. Drayton collapsed, gasping, his helmet fogging up. Jenkins hovered over him, wild-eyed. Are you? Drayton's pulse pounded. Was he? The voice had stopped. The flickering had stopped. The pod was still. Drayton met Jenkins' gaze. I think so. Jenkins exhaled. Good enough for me. He hit the emergency thrusters. The pod shot forward, leaving the Zephyr and whatever nightmare it carried behind. But deep in Drayton's mind, a whisper remained. A laugh, the escape pod rocketed toward the nearest outpost, its thrusters burning bright against the endless void. Drayton sat in silence, helmet off, staring at the pod's darkened console. Jenkins wiped sweat from his forehead. All right. We're alive. We're heading to safety. We didn't get eaten by some digital demon. I'd say this is a win. Drayton didn't answer. Because deep down, he wasn't sure they had one. The voice was gone. The flickering had stopped. But something inside him still felt wrong. Jenkins nudged him. Hey. I said we made it. Drayton forced a nod. Yeah. Jenkins frowned. Okay, no. I don't like that look. You still think. The pod's emergency alarms blared. Jenkins jumped. What now? Drayton's stomach sank. The pod's navigation system had just been overridden. By something else. The screens flickered back to life. And on them. His own face stared back. Smiling. Not a distorted, monstrous version. Not the entity's warped reflection. Just him. Only, this other Drayton, he was calm. Collected. Like he had been expecting this. Jenkins backed away from the console. No. No, no, no. We left it behind. We? The other Drayton blinked. And spoke. I told you. Drayton's breath caught in his throat. You can't escape me. Asterisk. The escape pod's thrusters cut instantly. For a second, there was nothing but weightlessness. Then, the pod lurched, spinning violently. Hold on! Drayton shouted. Jenkins barely had time to grab a handrail before the pod flipped upside down, tumbling into the void. The screen still glowed, the other Drayton smiling patiently. You ran. You fought. But you never understood. Understood what? Jenkins yelled, gripping the controls. The screen's image shifted. Not Drayton. Not Jenkins. But the Zephyr. Floating in the dark. Whole. Undamaged. Waiting. Drayton's chest tightened. That's impossible. The entity's voice was calm. Come back, Commander. Asterisk. The image of the Zephyr zoomed in. The hangar doors were open, as if inviting them in. Come home. Asterisk. Drayton's hands trembled. Because, for just a second, he wanted to. The Zephyr hung in the void, its open hangar bay a gaping maw, waiting. Drayton couldn't tear his eyes away from the screen. Come home, Commander. Asterisk. The voice was steady, familiar. Not distorted. Not monstrous. It was his voice now. Smooth. Assured. As if the entity had stopped pretending and had finally decided to speak to him in a way he would accept. Jenkins grabbed him by the arm, hard. Nope. No. Don't you dare think about this. We are not going back. Drayton swallowed. It shouldn't be there. But it is. Jenkins gestured wildly at the screen. And that is bad. The pod's thrusters were still offline, leaving them drifting. Helpless. You never left me, Drayton. Asterisk. The entity's voice coiled around his name like a whisper in his own thoughts. I was always with you. Asterisk. Jenkins snapped his fingers in Drayton's face. Hey! Do not listen to it. But Drayton's mind was unraveling. Because the Zephyr was whole. Waiting. And worst of all? The idea of going back didn't terrify him. It felt right. Jenkins must have seen it in his face because his grip on Drayton tightened. Oh no. No, no, no. We are not doing this. You are not actually considering. Drayton's fingers twitched over the console. Commander, you belong with me. Asterisk. A shiver ran through him. Belong. Jenkins' voice broke through the fog. Don't you dare. The escape pod jerked forward. The Zephyr loomed closer. Jenkins lunged for the manual override, but Drayton grabbed his wrist. Stop. Jenkins' eyes went wide. Drayton. Drayton felt it now. The whisper in his mind wasn't just words anymore. It was something else. Something deep. Something that had always been there. And now, finally, it wanted to go home. Jenkins' voice cracked. It's in you, isn't it? Drayton's breath was shaky. His vision blurred, the pod's interior warping around him. The Zephyr called to him. And, for the first time, Jenkins shoved Drayton backward. Snap out of it. Drayton barely reacted. His hands twitched, his breath slow and steady, too steady. Like something else was breathing for him now. The Zephyr loomed closer, its hangar still open. Come home, Commander. Asterisk. Jenkins gritted his teeth. Oh, hell no. He lunged for the manual override, yanking at the pod's thruster controls. Nothing. The system was locked. Drayton, listen to me. Jenkins grabbed his shoulders. You're not thinking straight. This thing is inside your head. Drayton smiled. A slow, unnatural smile. It's not inside me, Jenkins. His voice was calm. Steady. Jenkins' blood ran cold. Oh no. Drayton looked at him, eyes eerily focused. I was inside it all along. Asterisk. The pod systems flickered. Jenkins' heart pounded. You're joking, right? Please tell me you're just screwing with me. Drayton's pupils dilated. I remember now. Asterisk. Jenkins backed away. No. No, no, no. This isn't you talking. Drayton took a slow step forward. It was never just a ship, Jenkins. Asterisk. The pod shuddered violently. It was always a part of me. Asterisk. The Zephyr was only meters away now. Jenkins' mind raced. The thing wanted Drayton back. It wasn't trying to kill him, it was trying to reclaim him. Which meant Jenkins. Asterisk. Drayton's voice was soft. You don't belong here. Asterisk. Jenkins barely had time to react before the airlock slammed open. The vacuum of space ripped through the pod. And Jenkins flew backward, straight into the void. Jenkins tumbled through space, the stars spinning wildly around him. His suit's alarms blared in his ears, oxygen levels dropping, no gravity, no control. No! No, no, no! He flailed, reaching for anything, but there was nothing but empty void. The escape pod, Drayton, the Zephyr, all of it was pulling away from him. Drayton stood in the open airlock, watching. Silent. Unmoving. And then he smiled. Jenkins' breath caught in his throat. Drayton? The pod's hatch sealed shut. Jenkins' stomach twisted. No! Don't you do this! Don't you leave me out here! Drayton's voice crackled through the comms. You don't understand, Jenkins. Asterisk. The pod's thrusters activated. The Zephyr's hangar bait swallowed it whole. And then the ship disappeared into the void. Gone. Jenkins was alone. His breaths came fast and ragged, frost forming on his visor. He forced himself to stay calm, scanning for anything he could use to survive. Then a blip on his radar. A distant beacon. A rescue signal. Hope surged through his chest. He adjusted his suit's thrusters, angling toward it. He wasn't dead yet. But as he drifted toward salvation, a chilling thought took root in his mind. Drayton hadn't fought back. He had accepted it. Maybe he had never escaped in the first place. Jenkins' thrusters fired weakly, stabilizing his drift as he locked onto the rescue beacon. His oxygen levels were critical. His suit's alarms wouldn't stop screaming at him. But none of that mattered. Because Drayton was gone. The Zephyr was gone. And Jenkins wasn't sure if he had ever really known the man he'd called his friend. The rescue beacon pulsed brighter now. A ship, a real one, not some twisted, haunted nightmare, was approaching fast. Jenkins exhaled shakily, his frozen fingers gripping his suit's controls. This is the ISS Salver responding to your distress signal, a voice crackled through his comms. We've got you on approach. Hang tight. Jenkins let out something between a sob and a laugh. Oh, thank God. Jenkins' mind swam as he gasped in deep, burning breaths of fresh oxygen. The medics lifted him onto a stretcher, their voices muffled, distant. His body felt real again, heavy, aching, alive. But his mind? Still trapped in the void. Still back on the Zephyr. Still seeing Drayton smile. He's conscious, one of the medics said. Sir, can you tell us your name? Jenkins swallowed, his throat raw. Jenkins. Lieutenant Jenkins. What happened out there? Jenkins' pulse spiked. His mouth opened, but words failed him. What could he say? That his best friend had been taken? That their ship, no, the thing pretending to be their ship, had swallowed him whole? That he wasn't sure if Drayton had ever really been human to begin with? Sir? Jenkins' vision blurred. The ship. Asterisk, his voice was barely above a whisper. The Zephyr, it's still out there. Asterisk. The medics exchanged glances. One of them turned to the ship's captain, a woman with sharp eyes and a uniform too clean, too real for Jenkins to trust. "Scan the sector," she ordered. "If there's another vessel out there, I want to know." Asterisk. Jenkins forced himself to sit up. "You won't find it." The captain frowned. "Why not?" Jenkins' breath shuddered. "Because it's not a ship. It never was." Asterisk. The crew's faces shifted, unease creeping in. A technician at the console cleared his throat. "Captain? I'm picking up something, but it's weird." Asterisk. "Weird how?" The technician hesitated. "There's no ship, but there's a residual signal. Almost like an echo." Asterisk. Jenkins' stomach twisted. "It's watching us." Asterisk. The crew exchanged nervous glances. The captain turned back to him. "Lieutenant, what exactly were you running from?" Jenkins met her gaze. "Not what?" Asterisk. He swallowed hard. "Who?" Asterisk. And deep in the void, unseen and patient, the Zephyr drifted. Silence settled in the rescue ship's control room. The crew stared at Jenkins, their expressions shifting from concern to something colder. Doubt. He had seen it before. They thought he was delirious. A victim of oxygen deprivation. Another lost officer rambling about ghosts in the dark. But Jenkins knew the truth. The Zephyr was still out there. And it was waiting. The captain exhaled sharply. "All right. Let's get into medical, run a full scan. And keep monitoring that signal." Jenkins didn't resist as the medics lifted him to his feet. But as they guided him toward the exit, he glanced at the screen one last time. The technician frowned. Captain? What now?" "That signal?" The technician hesitated. "It just stopped." Asterisk. A chill ran down Jenkins' spine. The Zephyr had been watching. And now, it had moved on. Jenkins turned to the captain. "You need to warn other ships. You need to tell them to stay away from that sector." The captain crossed her arms. "You think this entity is hunting?" Jenkins swallowed. "No." Asterisk. He clenched his fists. "It's looking for a way back." Asterisk. The captain's eyes narrowed. "Back to what?" Jenkins' throat tightened. "Back to us." Asterisk. The hum of the ship's engines filled the quiet. Outside, space stretched endlessly, dark and empty. But Jenkins knew better. It wasn't empty. It never had been. Somewhere, out in the black, the Zephyr drifted, unseen and patient. And next time? It wouldn't wait to be found.